On this episode of Cool Stuff, what's more amazing than the human body?
This is so bizarre.
The secret of human bionics. This artificial knee can think for itself.
King of the world.
Then, to save a life, we're headed deep inside a living patient.
Richard, what's the temperature? 34.2.
It's medicine's version of the Big Chill. But this freezer works from the inside.
This device is a true innovation in terms of being able to cool the brain quickly and safely.
And the technology that's revealing our most precious organ. How 3D ultrasound is replacing a scalpel, giving doctors a home video that could very well save your life.
This is truly like having the heart on your hands.
And I'm getting my palm read. But it's not to see into my future, it's for my identity.
Just like that. Second and a half.
As quick as a handshake, as precise as DNA.
It's got about 300 times the size of information as a fingerprint.
The Palm Secure even distinguishes identical twins. The world is full of cool stuff. I'm Steve Truitt.
How come I'm not feeling any heat?
And I want to know how it works. I'll be riding the leading edge of innovation, pulling apart today's hottest technologies, and presenting them in ways you've never imagined. Join me on a journey into the hidden world of cool stuff.
Please don't move your hand. Access denied.
Sure, we're all human. But the more science explores our bodies, the more differences it's finding. That's just as well for lots of reasons, but in the security business, it's opening up a whole new world of biometric profiling, where your body becomes your key. Fingerprints we're all familiar with. They've set the biometric standard for a century. But with today's technology, all those loops and whirls of my skin can be copied if someone's determined enough to steal my identity. The future of security is going deeper, to a part of our bodies I never even thought about.
Registration complete.
I'm in Fujitsu, just south of San Francisco, to test out their security system that actually reads the veins in your hand. We'll give it a try.
Access denied. Please try again.
Okay, works so far. It doesn't recognize my hand, so I don't get past first base. But systems manager Joel Hagberg is going to sneak me through security to show me how it works.
The Palm Secure product is vascular-based security. It's inside your body, so it's very hard for someone to be able to duplicate or copy it because it's inside. It exists inside your hand.
So this is not only the cutting edge, this is the end-all be-all. Is that what
This is one of the next great secure products for the future.
The Palm Secure is looking past my fingerprints, past the creases in my palm, and deep into my vascular system.
Registration complete.
It does this by using near-infrared light. It passes through my skin and is reflected back to this sensor.
So it comes up, hits your hand. The blue veins that are taking the blood back to your heart actually absorb the near-infrared signal. The rest of the signals bounce back to the camera, and it takes a pattern.
works every time,
Sure.
as long as you're in the system.
So it's seeing my veins, not my arteries. That's because near-infrared is only absorbed by blue blood. As we know, arteries carry bright red blood full of oxygenated hemoglobin to every inch of our bodies. But once the oxygen is used up, our blue blood makes its way back to the heart by a different pathway. And that's what the Palm Secure sees. A detailed pattern unique to every individual, just like the branches of a tree. According to Joel, the veins in my palm are far more secure than my fingerprints.
Yeah, it's got about 300 times the size of information as a fingerprint. So you think of the complexity of the vein pattern in your hand, it's much more complex than a simple fingerprint pattern. So it's a much higher level of security.
It's my unique code, and just as no two trees are identical in every branch and twig, no one has my vein pattern.
We've tested it with a wide range of population, many sets of identical twins, and identical twins have similar iris, similar fingerprint, but unique vein pattern in their hand.
Because it's what's inside that counts, and that means not even cuts, scars, or aging can screw up the system. It's quick, painless, and pretty cool.
Access granted.
Yeah, just like that.
Now you're live in the system.
Can I try to go and see if I can actually access?
Sure, we can go out to the front door. You can take a walk into our building. Let's do it.
Fujitsu say the chances of a misread are 1 in a million. That's why Japanese banks already use the Palm Secure at more than 3,000 of their ATMs.
Sure, well, let's log you in as a guest. Go ahead and try.
Access granted.
This is the sort of palm reading I can really believe in. Brain surgery. Even with the best physicians and facilities, it's delicate and it's dangerous. But there's one cutting-edge technique that's improving a patient's odds of survival.
Richard, what's the temperature? Temperature is 34.2. Yes, that's good.
The cold.
Hypothermia is the absolute best protective agent we have against injury in the brain.
Low temperatures make our bodies sluggish. We don't just feel lethargic, our inner chemical workings, also known as our metabolism, actually slow down in the cold. And because our brain is a chemical hothouse, the less activity, the less chance of brain damage.
There was a story about a young boy that had fallen through a frozen lake and had essentially drowned, and he was submerged for about 45 minutes. And the rescuers pulled him out and they resuscitated him, and he was fine. He had no damage to his brain.
John Dovack was inspired by that newspaper story and decided to invent a machine that caused hypothermia. And this patient is about to feel its benefits. He has a cerebral aneurysm, a weakened blood vessel in his brain that could be fatal. Surgeon Gary Steinberg needs to fix it fast, and the old method of cooling is just too hit and miss.
The reason we don't simply pack the patient in ice or use a cooling blanket on the surface is because it's not efficient. What we found is that obese patients or patients with a large body mass did not cool down very quickly, and we couldn't control the cooling.
But the Intercool gives Steinberg ultimate control. It's an exceptionally designed catheter that uses cold saline solution to cool his patients from the inside. And here's how it works. A gold metal tip is inserted through the groin into the femoral vein. This is effectively a highway to the patient's heart, and the heart is Intercool's final destination. That's because the heart will pump the cold blood around the body. But getting a 10-inch metal shaft through a patient's femoral vein requires some cool engineering. Gold is a great thermal conductor, but it also needs to be supple enough to snake its way through the femoral vein.
The way we did that was by taking a piece of metal and putting these little, what are called bellows, these little ribs in it, and they're actually flexible. And by having these little segments here that are flexible, the whole metal tip becomes very flexible.
The cool design doesn't stop there. The grooves are specially designed to move through the blood very gently. Remember, blood is really a soup of blood cells, and they damage easily. Finally, the catheter reaches the inferior vena cava, a 1-inch diameter vein inside the heart that retrieves used blood from our bodies. Now, it's time to chill. Cold saline is pumped into the catheter right up to the gold tip. The heart does the rest, pumping cool blood around the body and dropping the patient's core temperature. To induce hypothermia, Dr. Steinberg lowers his patient's core temperature of 98.6 degrees by 10%. Our thermal camera shows the patient's brain as a cool blue. It took Intercool just 20 minutes. Now surgery can start. From here, it's up to Dr. Steinberg as he repairs his patient's weakened blood vessel and saves his life. The whole time, our thermal camera shows the patient staying at the perfect temperature in manageable hypothermia. When surgery is done, a flick of a switch turns inner cool into inner warm. Heated saline is pumped through the system and the patient gradually warms up. A successful operation. Brain surgery will always be a risky business. But today, Intercool is reducing some of those risks.
This device is a true innovation in terms of being able to cool the brain quickly and safely. And in that sense, it will revolutionize, I believe, the way we practice certain types of neurosurgery.
October 3rd, 1993, Mogadishu, Somalia. We're all familiar with the infamous Black Hawk Down incident. No one is closer to the events of that day than 44-year-old U.S. Special Forces veteran Brad Halling, a Purple Heart recipient.
Ryan, good to see you.
He lost his left leg when his chopper went down. For years, Brad's walked with a conventional prosthetic limb, but in 2006, he swapped it for the world's first power knee. Nowadays, Brad doesn't reminisce much about his experience on the battlefield.
You don't talk about what happened to your leg, do you?
Not too often, other than to say that it was, it was a combat injury and I was hit by a rocket-propelled grenade.
He'd much rather talk about the cool new technology in his power knee. From the labs of the Össur Corporation, this is 10 pounds worth of state-of-the-art prosthetic wizardry. As close as we've come to a bionic limb.
In my opinion, they're the million-dollar joints.
At Össur Corporation, I was pretty keen to find out how this amazing artificial leg worked. And Össur's head of prosthetics, Ian Fothergill, was happy to demonstrate.
The power knee is the first knee that generates positive power. So we have the possibility, when we bend the knee, of it actually to straighten itself back out. It actually has a motor in there that's driving it into a bent and straight position.
Powered by 42-volt lithium polymer batteries, the tiny but incredibly strong electric motors inside can propel a 265-pound person.
It generates as much torque, as much power as the normal human quadriceps and hamstring muscles would.
But the power knee can also think for itself. Its onboard computer holds a huge database on human locomotion. But here's the really clever feature. Pressure sensors under the heel and toes of the intact foot detect what sort of stride is being taken. This data is sent to an ankle strap transmitter that in turn sends a wireless Bluetooth signal to the power knee's waiting microprocessors. They interpret the data and tell the motors how to power the knee through its next step. And each power knee is programmed personally for every user.
We would start off by installing a database of information on the knee that incorporated the body weight, the height, the side of amputation of the user, and then we would go through each setting one by one, personalizing it so that they felt it was in symmetry with their locomotion.
I wonder how it would feel walking with one of these.
Potentially, you can try the power knee on yourself.
I want to do it, definitely.
I'm powered up and ready to go.
Good. That's a good start.
It's more difficult than I thought.
It's me. It's not it. It's me.
But I'm starting to get the hang of my extra leg's incredible power-assisted step.
This is so bizarre, but it's working.
What I really want to test out is Fothergill's claim that the power knee is the first prosthetic device ever to power a user upstairs.
So rapidly in their abilities.
But first, some fine-tuning to check the symmetry of my stride. I'm tagged with infrared reflectors so the computer can track how evenly I'm walking.
What we're trying to do is evaluate symmetry from left side to right to see how the knee's moving in conjunction with the rest of your body. So when I'm programming the knee, I can use this kind of data to actually help me evaluate your gait and actually update the settings on the knee so that they can maybe be a little bit improved from where we are just now.
Now, the stairs.
Forward, toe, step. Very close. Just try and get it a little bit more fluid. The more fluid it is, the better, the clearer the signal.
It's amazing. The leg is sensing how I point my toe, and its incredibly strong motor powers my artificial leg into the air, up the stairs. That is so cool.
King of the world!
King of the world, you made it up the
Hey,
stairs.
how about that? Now, can I get down?
Each power knee will set you back $100,000. It's a far cry from traditional prosthetic limbs. Their major disadvantage is the wear and tear on joints and muscles simply because the body has to lift it every step. Not so with the power knee.
So when I first got it, it felt as if I was constantly fighting the power because I was so used to voluntary control.
Now that Brad is adjusted to his power knee, his body is really feeling the benefits.
There's no work at the hip, there's no lower back strain trying to get up over the prosthesis.
Super prosthetics are here. Above-the-knee amputees like Brad already have the power knee. Who knows? Bionic fingers, legs, and toes may become the everyday appendage for the 1 in 200 Americans who've lost a limb. There's nothing quite like seeing your child's first baby picture, months before birth. We've had 30 years to get used to 2D ultrasound images, the science of seeing with sound. Now, very cool 3D ultrasound techniques are revolutionizing medicine.
This is a major advancement. You're not penetrating the body in any way. And you can get these fantastic pictures just by using sound waves on the surface of your chest.
More importantly, 3D ultrasound is saving lives. Mr. Johnson has a heart defect. 5 years ago, he received an artificial heart valve that probably saved his life. Now, physicians are afraid it might be leaking blood. Dr. Roberto Lang wants to find out without resorting to the scalpel. An ultrasound image is helpful, but a 3D ultrasound is that much better.
Cut into this like that. The surgeon can look at the valve exactly in the same manner as he or she will encounter at the time of surgery. They can mentally practice what type of operation they're going to do the next day on a patient. This is truly like having the heart on your hands.
Mr. Johnson's suspect valve is examined simply by placing a transducer on his chest. Instantly, Dr. Lang sees an accurate three-dimensional picture of a living, beating heart. He can even see how the blood is flowing through Mr. Johnson's valve.
Now you see here the color going through that valve. It looks really, really good. And you see the 3 struts. This is excellent, excellent. Beautiful pictures here we're getting of your heart.
So how does 3D ultrasound work? It combines 2-dimensional picture slices of body organs obtained by conventional 2D ultrasound techniques. Every second, millions of high-frequency sound pulses, way beyond human hearing, are blasted through the body. The reflected echoes are detected and analyzed to build a sound picture of any soft or fluid-filled organ within its range. 3D ultrasound goes one step further by capturing several 2D images from different angles and combining them using the computer's specialized software. Then, as a 3D composite image, it can be rotated at any angle.
And we can see the blood going through there. We can see now the turbulence as the blood goes through this artificial valve.
The smoothness of the blood flow through Mr. Johnson's heart valve is immediately apparent. Blood under pressure starts off blue, then turns red as turbulence builds in the valve. In this case, the absence of turbulence means the artificial valve is working perfectly. No leak in sight. The news is good.
The size of your heart is normal. The way your heart is pumping is only slightly reduced, but we can make you feel better with some medication.
It's a diagnostic godsend. And today, 3D ultrasound transducers have been miniaturized to the point that they can be used inside the body during surgery.
This little imaging sensor here has the equivalent of 100 of these boards right here, all miniaturized into the size of a dime.
The new 3D version has 25 times the processing power, producing a far clearer picture with height, depth, and breadth. And it's small enough to slide down your throat.
It actually goes down the food pipe and actually sits right behind the heart during heart surgery.
Nestled in the esophagus, the miniature ultrasound probe provides the physician with a close-up, detailed image of the heart without getting in the way of the surgeon's scalpel.
Do me a favor now.
Thanks to 3D ultrasound, the heart health of patients like Mr. Johnson can now be super accurately assessed without drawing a single drop of blood.
And it looks normal. There's no leakages around the valve.
Like thousands of other patients, he can trust in the new technology and breathe easy. Every day, technology merges ever closer with flesh and blood. It's hard to improve on nature, but we could certainly give it a helping hand. By cooling the blood to give us the best chance of survival. By imaging live organs in amazing detail. And by building artificial limbs that are almost as good as the real thing. See you next time on Cool Stuff.